morning, everybody. We have just finished another program, well, actually it's the same program, and we called the program Now. And why did we call the program Now? Because what we are trying to do is almost impossible unless God himself organizes it. In other words, we want to encapsulate the whole of history, the whole of the future life, heaven and earth, in our present day life. So that's what we're trying to do. And we've just, the last program we had was on Mount Olives, which overlooks Jerusalem. And so we're going to continue our view of Jerusalem from a church which is called Dominus Flavit, which means the Lord weeps. Okay, so we're now going there to Jerusalem. And as you say, we've come to Jerusalem because Jerusalem is the key to the world. If we don't have Jerusalem in our sights, we're going to lose touch with everything. And how can we prove that? Well, today you go to the United Nations and you have Trump screaming and shouting, saying, I'm going to put the embassy in Jerusalem. And the Palestine, the Arabs are going screaming and shouting, no, you can't. And everybody is blaming everybody else. And if you go to Jerusalem, you'll be in trouble because they're all fighting all over the place. So that's why we're going to Jerusalem. And the view, but on Jerusalem, on the east side, we have Mount Olives. And Mount Olives, on the Mount Olives church, we have this church that's called Dominus Flavit, the Lord weeps. So I ask you, for example, what do you think this looks like? Well, the architect, who was an Italian architect, and he also in the Holy Land, he was the architect who designed the Church of All Nations and Mount Tabor. But he also designed this. So this is a tear. He's crying. So because this is supposed to symbolize Jesus Christ is crying. Why is he crying? Well, the original crying is 2,000 years ago. They just come from the other side of the valley of Kedron, and the apostles had pointed out, they said, look at these beautiful stones of the beautiful Temple of Jerusalem. Because the Temple of Jerusalem, as we gradually going into, we'll see, they have the seven wonders of the world. Maybe Jerusalem was the first wonder of the world. It was absolutely magnificent. In its time, it outshone the Parthenon in Greece and all the monuments you could think of. The Holy Temple was and is the center of the universe. So the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, and the apostles said, look at these beautiful stones of the Temple of Jerusalem. And Jesus, with his far-seeing eyes, he's a prophet and a king, and he saw what was going to happen to the old Jerusalem. What was going to happen to it? It was going to be destroyed. So it was going to be destroyed, but out of the ashes of this destruction of Jerusalem was going to be the new heaven and the new earth. So we are very ambitious here because basically if this program was presented to the United Nations, the United Nations, and we showed them this presentation, and they understood this presentation, this miserable priest can guarantee that all the problems of the terrorists, of the Muslims, of the Jews, of the Catholics, of the problems would be solved overnight. Perhaps you're thinking this guy is crazy. But anyway, that's a very bold claim. But this thing symbolizes, because we don't follow the plan of God, first of all, God sees that we are stupid and he cries. But this crying symbolizes the crying of every mother who sees her child going on drugs, of every we see the tragedy of these beautiful islands. For example, I'm working in Taiwan, the beautiful island of Taiwan. I've been here for 46 years. When I came to Taiwan, I lived in the country, and round the church there were these fireflies. There was a beautiful river rushing down in front of the church, and there were eels, and there were birds, of multitudinous variety of birds. On this island there are over 400 different kinds of birds. And it was a paradise. That's why they call it Formosa, beautiful. And now Taiwan is very beautiful, but there's a lot of pollution around. That little river, which was the livelihood of many people, is now a little trickle. So that's just simple. So that's why. So this Jesus weeps, this picture symbolizes the tragedy of mankind. If God, if we stupid people followed the plan of God, we will have a wonderful time. But we don't follow. So Jesus wept. He wept for all of us. I weep because I'm an old guy and I've wasted my life fooling around. And everybody is the same. They say, I lived in Italy about 10 years. So I'll show off my Italian. There's a saying in Italian. It says, se I giovani sapessero, se il vecchi potessero. What does that mean? It means if the young people knew and the old people could, the world will be changed. Which means basically this: the young people don't know what's going on, so they fool around. And the old people, they've just discovered the truth. When they get very old, like me, I'm sitting on the edge of the grave and I say, ah, eureka, I know what the meaning of life is. And then God says, okay, you're dead, get out of it here. Let the young guys take over. You've suddenly discovered the truth. Okay, get out, get out. Let some young guy take over. And so that's the tragedy of human. We waste our youth. And then when we suddenly realize what the truth is, we're too old. So that's why God is laughing. So we'll just go a little bit, another kind of a view of this, you see. This idea is of Jesus weeps because he sees the tragedy of men who refuse to follow his plan. Basically, but originally it's because he saw what would happen to Jerusalem, you see. So this is a tear. You see, this symbolizes the tragedy of mankind. God gives us a beautiful blue sky, blue unpolluted sky, and now we have CO2 all over the place and we can't breathe properly and we get lung cancer. Why? Because we just follow our own stupid plans. We say, we want many sort of factories, and you see here, you see that this is you can see the idea. You see it's beautiful. That's a tear, and in a moment now, you see that window there. We're going to look through that window, and what are we going to see? What do you think? Okay, well, we'll show you that window there. You see? Okay, well, that looks out in Jerusalem, and that's when Jesus looked out from here 2,000 years ago. He stood here. And he saw what was going to happen to Jerusalem. Jerusalem just symbolizes us. We were going to be destroyed, you know. So here we go. I think we go inside here. You see, this is tear. So this is the tragedy of mankind. He will not follow the plan of God. So God weeps, the mothers weep. Okay, now we can see in microcosm, the whole of the thing. So we are now, I told you, we're looking through the window. Now you can see here the cross, and up there you can see the Eucharist. You see the chalice and the body of Christ. And at the back there, at the back here, you see here, this is the Temple of Jerusalem. So this is the whole of history. That's not very clear. We will see what this is. The mosque. This mosque is over the place where there was the Temple of Jerusalem. So that's the Temple of Jerusalem is on the place where, or rather, the mosque, the Arab mosque, is here on the place where the Temple of Jerusalem was. So that is it. So how do we solve the problem? We are in dire stress. the cross, okay? The cross. You see, this cross symbolizes vertical, horizontal. Vertical is heaven and earth. Heaven, earth. East, west. This is the world, and this is heaven, and this is earth. So how do we unite heaven, earth, the cross? And how do we do it? With the Eucharist. So that is the Eucharist. We have Jesus Christ died on the cross, and this is his body and blood, and therefore the Eucharist, the Mass, is the secret of the universe. We can say that the whole universe, the history of the universe, is leading up to this point of this. And so that is why I am 81 or 80 years old. According to Chinese chronology, I'm 82 or 83, but I'm 80 years old. And ever since the age of 9, I have been to Mass every day, apart from 2 years in the national service. But I've been to Mass every day. Why? Because I had a good education. I was told by my teachers who were Benedictine monks, they told me this, the Mass, is the center of the universe. And I believe them, and I thank God, because now I've been going to Mass every day. So, and we should all go to Mass every day. Why? Because the Mass is the center of the universe. The whole of history sums it up, solves this problem. That here solves heaven, earth, the whole world joined together every day. So this is the greatest mystery that you could, it's the mysterium tremendum. The mystery, if we can solve the mystery of the Mass, we'll never get to the bottom of it, because it's just unbelievable. You have the body of Christ, and that's the body of Christ, and the blood of Christ, and we can drink the body of Christ and eat the body of Christ every day. And therefore we have what is called theosis, Theosis. We are being divinized. In other words, we go to heaven every time we go to Mass. So this is, you see, but it's a difficult job. So this, you see that, this symbolizes the crown of thorns, you know. This is every day we have to get up to eat and drink. That's a thorn. We have the mother-in-law is pestering us. That's another thorn. The buses don't run on time. There's another thorn. We go. So that's those. So this is the crown of thorns. Jesus Christ, round his head, had the crown of thorns. So this is symbolized the crown of thorns. This symbolized the cross. And Jesus said, every day we have to take up our cross and go to heaven. And here we have the cup. And Jesus said, every one of us must drink the cup. The cup symbolizes salvation, symbolizes wine, symbolizes everything, and it symbolizes the whole setup. Okay, now we'll have another view, see what we have for us here. We'll have a look at the Shufti, okay. We'll see what's going on. Okay, you can see, because a long shot, you can see, okay. Now outside there, now what can we see here? I apologize for the earthquake. This picture is jumping up and down because of because I've just traveled right round Jerusalem, and this is in the evening. So the sun is in front. We all know if you take a photograph into the sun, it's not ideal. So I'm taking a photograph into the sun, but it has a certain advantage because we can see very clearly. You see the chalice, you see the cross, and you see, at the back there, you have the Mosque of Omar, and in front here you have the altar. So this altar is, every man is, Jesus Christ is the altar. We are, every day at Mass we go, we have the 2 candles, and we offer up the chalice to God. So this is heaven and earth on the altar every day at Mass. So we got to that, so I'm being told to shut up now because I've said enough. So we should have a musical interlude or some kind of joker coming out because we're getting too serious. But anyway, okay, see you soon. This is it. The altar, the cross, the Mass. If we just do that every day, we don't have to bother about it. Everything else is in sync. Bye-bye.